Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 23 of SEO Tells. I'm Itamar Blauer. I'm joined by Craig Campbell. And today we're going to be talking about generating content and maximizing your traffic. And this is probably one of the most important things that any person online, anyone who's got a website, will always be thinking about. How do I generate the right content and maximize my traffic? So I think I'll start off by just saying kind of like my approach and my mindset when it comes to creating content. So, the first thing I will do is I'll think of, what is it that I haven't done yet in terms of content that I know a lot about. It always comes down initially to your knowledge and the knowledge that you can share with other people. So if you're able to find that and provide value to people, then you've already got an idea of content that you can do. And obviously, I'm not going to talk about just now in terms of, the keyword research and the kind of tools. We'll get into that a bit later. But let's assume you've got that content idea. Then you've got to think about maximizing your traffic from different platforms. So I'm not going to make, for example, I'm not going to upload a video on YouTube and just keep it on YouTube and that's it. So most of the videos I have, there's an extra purpose for it because I can then utilize that and put it on a blog post, for instance. I can embed it on a blog post. And why do I do that? So, it's not only just so that I can embed it and, people who might want to read a blog post about this topic, they might prefer to watch videos. Some audiences prefer watching stuff as opposed to reading blog posts. So that's one reason. But also, you can get a lot more traffic from different sources by doing something like that, by trying to take a piece of content and thinking of loads of different mediums that you can interlink and share that. So for instance, if I've got a video up, that gets some views, I can embed it on a blog post, which is good because it increases my engagement. And I can also tweet about it, for instance, get people from social media. So that, these different platforms are all getting me traffic, but it's all based around one core content idea, if that makes sense. So, I'm driving traffic from social media to my website. People see that YouTube video embedded. They might click on that, watch, more videos. So they might go from my website to my YouTube channel, and then they might go back to my website. They might even choose to follow me on other social media platforms. But, I think the concept really is if you want to maximize traffic with content that you have is to try and move people from platform to platform. It's kind of like, you're a band, you're a famous singer, and you've got loads of fans. And these fans, they're the kind of people who will travel around the world or go to every single one of your shows if you're touring. It's kind of like that. So, if you're on this platform, they're going to go check out what you have to say on that platform as well. And I think that's the kind of, I guess, initial gist I have when I think like the mindset of behind generating content and maximizing that traffic. Craig, what would you say?
Yeah, I think obviously in the past, I think people, when they talk about content, always just assume that it's written content, that's what it is. But everything we do, a webinar, whatever, it's all content. And, even TikTok, doing a stupid dance, it's content. And, what we're trying to do is leverage that content to put ourselves out there in the best possible light. I think what you say is right. A lot of people, do create videos and stuff like that. But I think, you've got to think deeper than that and, take a snippet from your video, a funny part of a video, release a teaser, build up, people use those little teasers to force people into the most important thing. So what I'd also say is, obviously, Itamar's given you a broad brush approach to, putting stuff out in different content platforms and all that kind of stuff. But think about the main goal here. What is the main goal? Is it driving someone from YouTube to your LinkedIn? Is it driving someone from LinkedIn to your website? Is it driving someone from YouTube to your website? Is it driving someone from Twitter to your website? It's always driving people to your website. Your website is the core of the whole process, in my opinion. And the reason why is obviously because Google weighs the traffic, the engagement signals, the time on site, and all of that kind of stuff. So when you're thinking about content and slicing it all up, don't just slice it up and throw it out there as a broad brush approach. What is your goal? I'm not particularly fussed if someone goes from YouTube to my LinkedIn as such. Be nice if I got another little follower or whatever. But the biggest impact I can have by utilizing these other platforms is forcing people onto my website, because it has that SEO impact. So there's got to be a purpose of what you're doing, and forcing that traffic onto where it's going to be most valuable for you. And that's why, people do post teasers on Instagram saying, here's a funny clip, whatever it is, and then watch the full show here or whatever. So you have to have a strategy behind it as well. It's all good and well saying we have content and we slice it up and chuck it all over the place and people will follow me here, there, and everywhere. That's also a great concept, if you want to build your brand and stuff. But from an SEO point of view, be clever with it, because it's the same with, when I release a blog post, for example, I want to drive people using my email platform, my push messages, and videos and everything else on to that page to force that engagement, because that's going to give me longevity, high rankings, and everything else. And then from there, everything else happens naturally. So yeah, I think you have to also, and I just wanted to reiterate that, do it with a purpose behind it, a strategy behind it. Don't just chop up your content and throw it out everywhere, because we see a lot of people doing that, and you're like, Jesus, dude, man, what is the purpose of this? How the hell are you monetizing that content? Because a lot of people do it, and they hear that it's great to be on TikTok or post stuff on these places, and I've asked myself the question about being in TikTok as well. I'm just doing that for goofing around. But initially, or what I wanted to try and do was to see if there was any traction available on TikTok that I could force people to my website for a commercial reason. Obviously, I went on and goofed around because it was COVID, and I wanted to do stupid dances and make a fool of myself, and that's pretty much what that platform is. I think it remains to be seen whether it will become a commercial thing. But I have tried snipping up videos, putting it on there, and it had no great thing. But try and test them all. You've also got things that Marvel spoke about it in the past. Driving traffic from the likes of Reddit and stuff like that as well. Pinterest, putting your images up. It's not just about videos either. Images on Pinterest. I hear people saying all the time. Now, it's not something I personally do, but there's people out there saying to me, I'm getting so much traffic from Pinterest, it's unreal. And I'm like, really? And they are. If you know how to work these platforms, you can drive traffic from them. Images or not, it's still content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the point, though, isn't it? It's like everything. It's not just the text on blog posts that's content. It's audio. Audio is content. Video is content. Imagery, that's all content. So there's so many different types of content. And I know we touched upon, things and how to maximize your traffic. But let's step it back a little bit and talk about how to generate the content that will kind of give you that ability to generate lots of traffic. So, in terms of the way that I would approach it potentially is, you do some research to see what's out there, or you think of something that you're really knowledgeable about. You've got to do that research into the competition, what's out there. Take a look at, say, for example, you're thinking of an idea of a blog post to write about, for instance. You do keyword research about that area. You see, is there demand for this type of topic? You find that there is. That's great. You can use something like SEMrush and check the SEO content template that will kind of take a look at the SERP and how people are ranking for these terms, and then you can get an idea, for instance, like the amount of words you need, the types of headings, this, that, and the other, and then you kind of match that with what's already ranking. And I think, in terms of generating content that will do better than them, is all about thinking, you've got to take a kind of bulk look at it, and you open up maybe everyone who's ranking on page 1 for this topic that you want to write about. Take a look at, you can use some like Chrome extensions like SEO Minion or something to get all of their heading tags. You do that, you take a look, and you've got to analyze it manually. And I think this is where, we got to say, forget about tools. You got to use your brain a little bit to kind of really analyze what these heading tags are about. What is Google rewarding in this case about that content? And once you can then develop that in terms of, you've got a good plan for a piece of content you're going to write, then that's when you can start thinking about what more content can you add to it. Can you add images? Can you add videos in there? Can you talk about it, have it as a podcast, and potentially embed a thing where people can just click play and listen to you talking about the topic? So, there's a lot of manual research that needs to be done in terms of generating content nowadays. I think that kind of trumps other pieces of content already out there, just because everything's really competitive. So, Craig, how would you approach the kind of the first part, so generating that content before you start worrying about the traffic?
I mean, obviously, I think, what you're saying, there's things where you can get content ideas, by just looking around, or doing a bit of manual stuff. But what I'd also say is use your brain, use your common loaf. Like we prior to doing these shows, we're like, what do you want to talk about? What do you want, and we're sitting saying, right, this could be good, that could be good, that could be good. It's a manual conversation. We're not looking at someone else's videos. We're not pulling something that SEMrush tells us. We are saying, what do we think would be good, me and you? What's going to be useful for people. And that's the way you also need to think as well. Don't heavily rely on what everyone else is doing, because in my opinion, if everyone does the same stuff, you're all going to be there, the same thing. What's going to make you stand out? Be off the cuff, be creative, be even crazy, think outside the box. And what I'd also say to anyone when creating content, be yourself. Try and not be that robot, that, guy that you see some of the videos and some of these guys just shouldn't be on videos. They have no personality, they've no intensity about them, there's no fun about them, and they're just churning out content because they're being in an agency being paid to, meta tags are the best thing, and we fix all this stuff and it gives a big click-through rate and whatever, and it's just boring. Like, fuck that. No one wants to watch that stuff. People want a laugh. Be yourself, something a bit fun, a bit outside the box. And I think that is something that, as you're saying, do research, but also add your own mix to it. You can take a story, spin it, add some fun to it, add some craziness to it, add a little quirky thing to it. And that's what I tend to do with stories. People say, oh, Craig, he's always talking about dirty tactics and stuff like that. Now, why do I always talk about dirty tactics as such? Now, it's not because I'm a dirty guy. I do a lot of, site speed and audits and all of that kind of stuff. But the dirty stuff's more fun to talk about, right? That's what everyone wants to hear. There's a bit more fun involved with that. You can even play Chinese whispers with a story. So I can take a story and add 5 bits to it just to make it funny. And that is where I think people are going, he's quite a funny guy, or, he's crazy, or, they might even say he's a dick, whatever, it doesn't really matter. To be honest, but you're adding your own mix to it, and I think that is really, really important to do. For me, it's about sticking out from the crowd, because if we're just releasing the same content that everyone else has, whether it's a video, whether it's an image, whether it's text, speak funny, you can put your voice into the text, even if it's a blog post, add your own thing to it. Don't just have it the same as everyone else's. And I think that works. And we're all human beings, and we all like different stuff. We all like different people. We all have our own quirks. And I think the great thing about this industry is you can be yourself. You can be that, nut job, if you like. And when I say nut jobs, I say that in the greatest respect. You look around and you see your Holly Starks, cutting about with 100 phones. And I seen a post from Holly Starks last night, and she was saying, what do you think 100 million blog comments are going to do for your ranking? And she's just testing wacky stuff. But do you know what? You're going to go and read this and see what the impact was, whether it's crap or not. She's doing stuff and she's actually trying it. That's the worst thing about it. I would rather read that than some guy saying, here's what happens when you add another 200 words of text to it. So, she's going out. I've got to laugh. 100 million bloody blog comments. But she, that is what we need in the world: is characters, fun, off the scale mentalness. That's what I enjoy anyway. Someone else might think differently, but what do you think, Itamar?
Yeah, I think, if I had to sum it down in terms of my tip, so one tip to generate content and one tip to maximize traffic. So, and Craig, you can do this afterwards and then we can kind of like just end it on there. But, I think, number one tip, if you want to generate content, is you have to add your own angle to it. So, it's about being unique, being creative, finding things that people haven't done before, because if no one's done it before, then there's no reason why they wouldn't want to at least engage with your content, because people are drawn to things that are unusual. People are drawn to things that are new. Like, why do you think, newspapers and these kind of things, they get, millions of people looking at them every single day? Because they're looking for new things to consume. So if you're able to get your own angle onto something, especially if it's quite a kind of, current topic, that a trending topic that people are talking about, you'll find a lot more success in terms of generating content that will actually get people reading. But, tip for maximizing traffic is definitely just, go over and beyond, utilize more types of content. It's not all about the text. So use images, go on podcasts, webinars, videos, infographics. All of this is content that you can utilize and weave into your content, say the main content on your blog, and you get more people, driving traffic from other sources to your website. What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, I think pretty much, you've nailed it in the head with pretty much all you've said. The only real thing I can add to that is don't be scared to try other platforms as well. Like, I've tried TikTok. It was a failure. Never won a bit of business from it in my life. Spent, a fair few hours dancing around. But try them, because I've been ignorant to platforms in the past and then went on there and went, LinkedIn was one of them many years ago, where I used to think that it was for old men. I don't know why I had that perception, and now I'm an old man. Maybe I shouldn't have had that thought, but the reality was, something didn't sit right with me with LinkedIn. I just thought it was old grumpy businessmen on there. I've no idea why I had that perception. But when I actually tried it out, I was like, oh my God, there's a lot. And obviously back then, when I first tried it out, which was probably about 2012, 8 years ago or so, I got a lot of business from it, a lot of traffic. So don't be ignorant to platforms. And that's why I did jump on TikTok. I'm not doing Pinterest yet. I keep meaning to, but it comes down to time. But don't just stick to what everyone says, like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and LinkedIn. Try other ones, because people are driving traffic. That guy, Digital Critique, I've mentioned him a few times in different shows, has 1.2 million followers on TikTok, and he's driving traffic from TikTok to his business because he's in India, right? So that's fine. He's India. It was a big thing in India. I'm not sure it's even legal in India anymore, but that's how it works, because he spoke in Hindi and stuff like that. LinkedIn, Pinterest, all of that stuff. Keep on top of it. Try other stuff out, and as Itamar says, utilize infographic, anything. Instagram's another one where you've got. I'm not huge on Instagram, right? It's another one that I probably fall quite short on due to my lack of graphic skills. But you see on Instagram, these people have got these kind of 6 or 9 images. I can't remember what you call it again. Like do you know what I'm talking about, Itamar?
Is it the one like one photo but throughout 9 boxes?
Yeah, so even stupid stuff like that stand out. They catch your eye and you're like, whoa, that looks quite nice. Now, I don't know what that's called because I'm not an Instagram buff. And I'm really crap at graphic design. So, but should I get my finger out and do more on Instagram? 100%, because people are doing well on Instagram as well. So, on that note, don't be ignorant to platforms. Get your finger out and get testing them out.
Yeah, sums it up quite nicely. And I think on that note, we'll end the episode there. So thank you, everyone who's watched this episode of SEO Tells. On behalf of myself and Craig, thank you for watching. Leave a like rating if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and we'll see you in next week's episode.